yesterday to see that those little homes that are so close to the road, that are sharing a driveway for 2 homes, have 5 and 6 cars piled in the driveway. There's no landscaping that's taking place there. There are no trees that are planted on that countryside. It's just kind of sad. Growth is going to happen, though, and yes, farmers can take their property and put whatever they want to on it. They can sell it to whomever they want. I spoke with Brian Lamb just a few months ago when he was taking trees off of that property. Went over and just spoke to him. Never spoke to Brian. I didn't really know who he was. Know his family very well. Good people. Good people. And I said, well, Brian, you know, you're taking some trees off of the property over here. Man, you must be thinking about developing it. He'd only owned the property 2 years. My cousin sold it to him for about $3,000 an acre. It's a good money pit for him. But you know, I guess he had a change in plans. Or maybe he didn't want me to know. I shared with him that I've got about a 11.5 acres lot that directly joins this property. That's the first piece of property in the city jurisdiction. And I said, well, you know, I thought about developing that property. Even told him what the name would be after my granddaddy. He didn't ever say anything. I said, well, if you're ever interested in doing anything out here, you know, maybe we could go together on it. 55 vision. That in order to do that, you got to put a turning lane. Have y'all ever seen that? Have you ever seen a main highway have a turning lane for a housing development? I'm sure there probably are some, but I don't think there are any in Bailey. I don't know if there are any in Nash County. I don't know. I'll tell you another thing. There are many times when I am turning left to get into my driveway, waiting for cars going south as I'm headed north, turning left to get in my drive. I'm waiting for cars to turn, and I'm at a total standstill, and here comes an 18-wheeler behind me, or even a flying car for that matter, and I'll tell you what I do. I hit the gas pedal quick because I'm afraid they might run into me. I don't think that would happen perhaps with the turning lane, but I think that there would be other issues with that. I echo my brilliant cousin, Jane, who has studied this county. She's from Raleigh, an attorney, her husband an attorney. We're good people, y'all. We're good people. We appreciate what we have inherited from our forefathers. They were hard-working farmers, and we've been hard-working people. And I echo my cousin Jane in stating that we'd like to see development growth done right. Something that in the future that we can still appreciate our beautiful countryside. And wonderful based on statistics and okay to approve something. But are you really doing your job? I'm not saying you guys, but are you really doing your job for the county, for our citizens? There's maybe 2 families here today that are speaking up on behalf of our love for where we live. All this growth, it's pretty disgusting in some point of the matter. It's great and wonderful, but do you really foresee what's happening for Nash County? Are you really, is your heart and your mind really there as if it were your own property? I just say, it hasn't even been a year, not even just a few months, where we just went by and saw homes yesterday that were built as these cluster units, and already seeing no care. So 5 and 10 and 15 and 20 and 25 years from now, what is your work going to look like? Something you're really proud of for the growth of this county? For the welfare of your citizens? Or is it going to be soft soap and despair? You're good people. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. Think as if it were your own family, your own community, and the goodness of your works. I thank you, and we appreciate you, and please reconsider this to an R40. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Anyone else wish to speak for or against?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Richard Brantley. I'm a farmer in the Nash County area, and I own land across the road from this development. And number one is, it is very unsafe place for development with 581 and that curve in it coming out of Bailey heading north. I know Miss Joyner, she has a hard time getting out of her driveway already. Something really needs to be done there. I know you're talking about a turn lane and all, but I don't know how that's going to work, but it's, that's number one, I think, on the list. But number two, I think R30 is, with a cluster, is just a camouflage 20. I think 40 would be a lot better. It's 40 everywhere else around there. And I think you need to look at the county EMS and get them fully funded and fully staffed before you approve any more subdivisions, 20, 30s, or 40s, because it's not fully staffed right now and it's in bad shape. I think y'all know that, but somebody's got to look out for all these people coming to Nash County. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brantley.
Hello again. I want you to know that that land would be mine if we'd have known he was going to turn it into a residential place, because I would have bought it and it would not have all these problems. But I thank you for listening, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Finch. Others wish to speak for or against?
I'd like to, yes. I'd like to put this down first. It would go this way. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Vicki Griffin. I'm at 11273 South NC Highway 581. So I am in the ETJ here, very close to this property, as is my father. Lived here all my life.
Could you use the mic when you speak?
I'm sorry.
So it will be recorded.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I live in this area here, and I've lived here almost all my life. I feel like the ETJ is R30, but I'm sure you guys are getting that checked. I propose that you deny this request for the following reasons. First, Highway 581 corridor is not only zoned R40, it is R40. Up and down 581 leading to and from Bailey, up to Flood's Chapel, on to Spring Hope and south towards Buckhorn, almost all of this property is R40, which is conducive to the beauty and inviting nature of our area, and particularly this highway. Second, we have lovely home developments on 581, and they adhere to a strict R40, no clustering. One is this area here. Madison and Todd Roads is actually called Baker Place. I have some photos. Can I just lay these on top? Mm-hmm. Well, this is the Baker Place. Here's a picture of homes here. Here. This is what a nice R40 looks like. land property is located across the road from this Baker place, within some feet, as you can see. By contrast, I took a photo of the R20 and 30s that have been recently approved. This is what we see. House, 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 house. Here's another photo. House, 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 house. It's too close. It's too close to retain our appeal on 581, which needs protecting. Approving the R30 rezone is not compatible on this highway. Third, the appeal of Nash County is natural because of its open farmland, wooded areas, well-kept homes, and our quaint towns, but especially our inviting residents. Before this seeming rush to the R20-30 rezoning, we have enjoyed many years of varieties of people moving to our area from all over the United States to start afresh in our beloved Nash County. Keeping the zoning R40 results in a natural progress of methodical growth while keeping the charm that drew them here. I'd like to put a face on this third reason to deny this rezoning request. I've become acquainted with a delightful couple who moved here from out of state. They could have moved anywhere in the United States, but they chose Nash County because of its aesthetic appeal. Within the last year, however, their property has fallen victim to the neighboring property owner's rush to sell off lots. I am sad to tell you that he recently and dejectedly said, "If I had known this, I would have never moved here." Mr. Lamb would like his property rezoned R30 for his subdivision. Well, I, and probably most of us, would like to see it remain food-producing farmland. So, what is the solution? The solution is denial. It's obvious. If you deny his rezoning request, both parties win. Mr. Lamb would be free to build his subdivision if he wanted to on R30 lots. No permission needed. I hope he would avoid the cluster. And we would continue to enjoy the beauty that the 581 corridor allows with R40. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Have others that wish to speak on this item?
Good morning again. Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering, representing the owner. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions of Mr. Varnell?
Sure.
Has any site study been done on this tract here other than just on paper? I see on the east side, I guess the far east side, kind of the half of that is a very wet-natured soil. You know, the description of it says frequently flooded.
Right.
And half of those lots is in a soil type that's frequently flooded. I was just wondering how those were able to be laid out like that if it's really poorly drained soil.
You're talking about the lots that are fronting the main road coming in that back up to it, or which lots are you referring to?
No,
The ones off the cul-de-sac?
that BB soil type, it's a bib loam soil type
Right, so,
on the east side.
yeah, so what you see on the sketch, there are contour lines that go across. And so every one you see is a 2-foot contour coming up. So from that stream in the back that runs here, you can see these, by the time you get up to the front or way up the hill, there has been a soils evaluation done, and they're believed to be enough septic system locations for both the septic and repair on each lot. And obviously that'll be confirmed by the Nash County Environmental Health Department. But yes, I would agree that there is a stream to the rear of the properties. These are very large properties. I think they're over 40,000 square feet. Some of them, there are some down towards the very bottom that get into the 20s. But for the most part, these are very long, deep lots. So just to make sure you guys are aware, the difference of lot width between R20, R30, and R40 is all the same. They're all 100-foot wide lots. So if you're looking at the previous pictures that were shown, the houses that look like they're closer together are actually drawn on the same lot sizes, and all of them can be 100-foot wide. So that does not change regardless of the zoning that you're in.
Well, that still leaves, most of these lots along that side are, I would say, around 32,000 square foot. So if half of it is really unsuitable soils, you've only got about 15,000 square foot of suitable soil.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Varnell? Thank you, sir. Anyone else who wishes to speak on this item? Entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Public hearing is now closed. Any other comments or questions from a commissioner?
I'd like to circle back to Commissioner Outlaw's question about
Sure.
how the property in Bailey's ETJ is zoned. This is an R40 zoning district in Bailey, so very consistent with the green in the county's R40 as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions of Mr. Tyson, or any other comments? Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion, we deny this request based on its unreasonableness, not in the public interest, and the density of the lots.
Have a motion. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett, motion by Commissioner Combs. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to item number 9, which is a third public hearing on conditional rezoning request CZ 220203 for the Stone Wedding Venue. Mr. Tyson?
This is different from the previous two rezonings because this one is more commercial in nature. The subject property is highlighted in red on the aerial photo on the left and the zoning map on the right. It is all or portions of 2 tracts of land totaling about 15 acres owned by Tracy H. and Lisa S. Stone. It's located on the west side of South NC Highway 231. It's north of the town of Middlesex, and this green color denotes that it is in the A1 agricultural zoning district. The site is currently undeveloped. It is immediately adjacent to an existing dwelling up front at 5574 South NC Highway 231. That is owned by the same owner as this property that is subject to the rezoning. And so that is the applicant that lives immediately adjacent to this property. The site does not have access to public water or sewer, so any future development in the near term would utilize a private on-site well and septic system. The property owner has submitted this rezoning request to rezone the subject property from A1 to A1CZ, specifically for the development of an event and conference venue to be known as the Stone Wedding Venue. The board will recall about a year or so ago adopting regulations for event and conference venues. That was specifically in anticipation of the Factory 633 facility on Halifax Road. The event and conference venue is permitted in this A1 zoning district, but it does require the establishment of a conditional zoning district and several development standards that must be met. This is a conditional rezoning, so of course there's the opportunity to attach reasonable site-specific conditions to an approval with the consent of the applicant. If we review the proposed site plan for the property, we will go through the development standards that are required for an event and conference venue. First, the property must be in an A1 RC and GC district, and of course, we've already established this one is in an A1 zoning district, which permits the development of an event and conference venue. In terms of minimum lot size, an event and conference venue must be located on a property with a lot area of at least 10 acres. The property that is proposed is a combination of this lot and a portion of the residential lot that will be folded into that property. That will make it a new total of 15.14 acres, which obviously exceeds the minimum requirement of 10 acres. The principal access to the event and conference venue must be from a paved collector or higher capacity road, and obviously South NC Highway 231 will meet that requirement. In terms of separation distances, the primary structures used to host events and/or any outdoor event use areas shall be located no closer than 200 feet to the property line of an immediately adjacent agriculturally zoned, residentially zoned, and/or residentially used property, unless the property already includes a legally established commercial or industrial land use. You've got 2 buildings here that could potentially be used to host events on the property, a 6,400 square foot venue building and a 1,600 square foot open outdoor shelter. Both of those would be located more than 200 feet from any immediately adjacent property line. And so it does meet, or it exceeds the minimum separation distance. The second separation requirement has to do with property that would be adjacent and commercially or industrially zoned, and there is none of that in this case. Number D2, parking spaces and loading areas may be located within the required separation distance. You'll note that part of the parking area is located in that 200-foot separation distance. However, it is a minimum of 100 feet or more away from the adjacent property line. Any accessory structures, smaller accessory structures have to meet the standard minimum building setbacks, but there are no smaller accessory structures proposed. Noise generated by the event and conference venue would have to be in accordance with Nash County's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 16, Article 3, noise, and the Sheriff's Office is charged with the enforcement of any noise violations as necessary. Adequate parking spaces to accommodate the venue must be provided, although the paving of those parking spaces is not necessarily required due to their irregular use for events. You'll note a 61 parking area to be established on the right-hand side of the facility. Per the UDO, 1 parking space is required per every 5 persons based on the maximum building occupancy. So when the design of the interior of this building is finalized, there may have to be some adjustments to the number of parking spaces depending upon the final calculated building occupancy. Finally, screening. Any structures, outdoor use areas, or parking and loading areas associated with the event and conference venue and located within 100 feet of an immediately adjacent lot must be screened. In this case, all structures, outdoor use areas, and parking or loading areas are more than 100 feet from an immediately adjacent lot. So there is no screening that is mandated by the ordinance. Screening could be requested from the applicant as a condition, and then if that condition were attached to the rezoning, that would be enforceable by the county. But no additional screening is triggered mandatorily by the ordinance. If we turn our attention to the land use plan, you'll see this is in the suburban growth area. The request is partially consistent with the recommendations of the plan. First of all, the plan designates it as suburban growth area. The plan supports the development within this area of very limited non-residential commercial land uses that meet specific locational criteria. So the first thing, in order for this to be a limited commercial land use, it is limited by its conditional nature. That means that the proposed event and conference venue facility will be limited by the site plan that it is proposed, as well as by any attached conditions, and it is limited to staying just an event and conference venue. A proposal to change it to a different commercial use would require intervention and approval by the Board of Commissioners. Secondly, the plan recommends frontage along and access to either a major state highway or secondary road. And certainly it does have frontage along and direct access to South NC Highway 231, which has an annual average daily traffic of 1,100 vehicle trips per day. Third, it should be located at a major intersection. This property is not located at an intersection. It is also not located in proximity to other commercial land uses. However, being located next to an intersection or to other commercial land uses would not necessarily be compatible with the desired rural setting that would be appropriate for a wedding venue like this. And so in that way, you see that although it is only partially consistent with the plan's recommendations, it is possible that the specific needs of a wedding venue were not under consideration when these recommendations were drafted. Finally, the proposed event and conference venue will be located back from the road right-of-way with spatial separation from the other existing residential development that's found along the road. This request would not be considered unreasonable spot zoning because we are not changing the underlying base zoning. It's zoned A1. It'll continue to be zoned A1. The applicant is just requesting permission to develop the wedding venue in that zone. The Technical Review Committee considered this on February 14th and recommended approval, subject to a list of development conditions. The Planning Board considered it on February 21st. Mr. Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering addressed the board on behalf of the applicant in support of the request. There were no members of the public present who addressed the board either in support or opposition to the request. Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend approval, as well as the suggested statement of plan consistency, subject to the recommended development conditions. There are 3 recommended development conditions. Of course, the first is that the property could only be developed as an event and conference venue facility only, and only in accordance with the approved site plan. Number 2, we've already mentioned the final number of parking spaces may need to be adjusted once the final building occupancy has been calculated for the venue building. And finally, number 3 is a list of the other permits from state agencies and local county agencies that will be required prior to a construction authorization of the 2 buildings. This is a legislative matter, as the other 2 were, so the board is free to approve or deny it based on your best judgment. You have a motion for approval and a motion for denial, and I will pause there and take any questions that the board has.
Any questions for Mr. Tice at this time? Just one quick one, Mr. Tyson. If this, you mentioned that this was in the urban growth area. If it were not, would it be any difference in whether we could approve it or not?
No. The land use plan never prevents you from being able to approve or deny a request. You simply have to address whether the application is consistent and in what ways with the recommendations of the plan. So this could be approved in any, potentially in any category of land use area that's on the map.
What I thought, I just want to make sure. Thank you. Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Entertain a motion to go into public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs. There a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to discuss this matter. If there's someone here that wishes to speak for or against it, we'd be glad to hear from you at this time. Good morning, sir.
Kevin Varnell, Stocks Engineering, represent the owner. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions of Mr. Varnell? Thank you, sir. Others wish to speak for or against? Entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion? All in favor of this motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Public hearing is now closed. Any other questions of Mr. Tyson? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion, we approve this conditional rezoning request along with the statement of plan consistency and reasonableness.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well.
Thank you.
I'm going to call for a 8-minute recess at this time, and we will reconvene in about 8 to 10 minutes. Thank you.
8 minutes.
Call us back in session at this time, and we will be starting with item number 10, and I call on Andy Hagee to make this presentation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Yeah, this is obviously a public hearing for the inducement agreement approval for Project START, which is the Sonovatech project that we've been hearing about quite a bit lately. And if you don't mind, I'll read the resolution.
Yes, sir.
Whereas the Local Government Act of 1925 in CGS 158-7.1 authorizes cities and counties to make appropriations for the purposes of aiding and encouraging the location of manufacturing enterprises and to assist in locating industrial and commercial plants in the county, which will, in the discretion of the governing body of the city or county, increase the population, taxable property, and business prospects of the city or county. And whereas Nash County has been requested to make an economic incentive grant to an industrial prospect that has indicated its intent to purchase and unfit a facility located in Nash County, create a substantial number of jobs at its facility, and make a substantial capital investment in machinery, equipment, and at its facility. And whereas the company considered locating its operation in other communities if it were unable to obtain the cooperation and assistance of Nash County for the purchase and upfit of its facility. And whereas the Nash County Board of Commissioners believes that the purchase and upfitting of the company's facility in Nash County will, 1, increase the population of Nash County, 2, increase the tax base of Nash County, 3, create substantial tax revenues, and 4, generally serve the citizens of Nash County by an increase in employment in Nash County and generation of tax revenues for the Nash County. And whereas the Nash County Board of Commissioners proposes to appropriate to the company an economic inducement, a percentage of the net increase of ad valorem taxes resulting from the company's purchase and upfitting of the facility, and a substantial capital investment in machinery and equipment, and to pay such percentage beginning April 1st, 2023, and continuing until April 1st, 2028. The economic inducement shall be based upon the company's capital investment, the company's increase in its net and valorem tax value in Nash County, or not less than $10 million, and the creation of 25 jobs in the first year in the company's operation of the facility. And whereas on March the 7th, 2022, a public hearing will be held by Nash County Board of Commissioners to consider the appropriation and approval of this economic incentive grant and the approval of an inducement agreement containing the associated terms and specific conditions that apply to this grant.
Any questions of Andy on this item? Thank you, sir. Entertain a motion to open the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to consider this inducement agreement. If there's anyone here that wishes to speak for it or against it, we'd be glad to hear from you at this time. This is going down in the Middlesex Industrial Park. Anyone here to speak on it? Seeing no movement, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? The public hearing is now closed. Any other questions for staff from any commissioner? And anything else you need to add, or you good?
I'm good.
Mr. Durham, we in proper form?
Yes, sir. Just need approval of the inducement agreement.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the inducement agreement.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins. Did I do that already? No, okay. A second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Conditional agreement stands approved, sir. Right, thank you all for your hard work on this item. We'll now move to item number 11, which is approval of a tax exempt loan for the Westmount Volunteer Fire Department. I'll call on Scott Rogers to make the request. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Morning. I am here on behalf of the Westmount Fire Department. They are seeking financing through Southern Bank for a new piece of fire apparatus in the amount of $312,000. The type of loan that they are applying for does require approval by this board, and certainly in no ways obligates the county in any way. So I would ask you to approve that the Westmount Fire Department be allowed to apply for this loan.
Any questions?
I assume that's not a fire truck. It's not enough money.
It is a fire truck, to be honest. I just don't think they're financing the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
But you are right. I have never seen the increase in cost of fire apparatus like I have in the last few months. And not only just the cost, but the delivery time. It takes
2 years or more.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. It is.
I saw Nash's thing. They had their meeting. All right, entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Outlaw, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Next item is item number 12, is the interlocal agreement with the town of Red Oak. I'll call on Mr. Jonathan Boone to make this presentation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners.
Morning.
As you're aware, the county partnered with the town of Red Oak and the town of Dorchester, for that matter, to develop the Northern Nash water system. And part of that partnership involves financial commitment to assist the county with development of the district in the early stages when really financing becomes more of a challenge. And with the availability of American Rescue Plan Act monies that the town of Dorchester received, they had requested that the agreement they had made back in 2017 be formalized in an interlocal agreement. So with the county attorney's help, we drafted an agreement, went back and forth a couple of times with the town of Red Oak, and ended up with the document that you have before you today. So basically, this really just, again, formalizes the agreement that was made back in 2017. We'd ask that the commissioners approve that agreement. If any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Questions of Mr. Boone? And I think you told me Dorchester's already had one that worked for them.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Arrington. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If no one objects, I'm going to ask that we move item 16 up in front of 13, and go ahead and take care of 16 first. We have a consultant in the audit has been patient, and plus we're probably paying him about an hour, and I want to get him turning loose as quick as we can. I'm not sure about that part of it, but perhaps if you'll tell us about item 16.
Yes, sir. First, I'd like to introduce Mike Barnett with McDavid Associates. We have a long-standing relationship with them on a number of housing projects and community development projects, and we just appreciate him coming today. The first item for consideration is the budget for and the program management and technical housing services agreement for Nash County's portion of the Downeast Home Consortium. In October, we entered into an agreement with the Downeast Home Consortium regarding a plan to utilize the funds. The agreement was amended in November when Sharpsburg decided to administer its own funds. The City of Rocky Mount remains the lead agency per the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development of the Downeast Home Consortium. And although Nash County is no longer a member of the Downeast Home Consortium, there are remaining funds allocated for previous years that need to be used in Nash County. Nash County plans to administer its part of the Downeast Home Consortium program with assistance from a qualified consultant, as we do our other housing programs. This will include rehabilitation of owner-occupied, low to moderate income, single-family housing in Nash County, with priority given to households located in the jurisdictions of current or then members of the Downeast Home Consortium in Nash County, which are Bailey, Dorches, Middlesex, Nashville, Sharpsburg, Spring Hope, Whitakers, and Nash County outside of Rocky Mount. Particularly, we'll be assisting those with remaining unspent allocations. It will also include the administration of current year funds for 3 municipalities that are located partly or wholly within Nash County, which are Middlesex, Spring Hope, and Whitakers. And the city of Rocky Mount will continue to administer funds for housing projects within its jurisdiction, and Edgecombe County, Tarboro, and Sharpsboro will administer funds for housing projects within their jurisdictions. Nash County received applications for the Downeast Home Consortium from November 1st through the end of December. We issued a request for qualifications for a qualified program manager on January 20th. We emailed or mailed the RFQ to 267 firms, many of which were historically underutilized businesses. We received 3 responses on February 10th. The Housing Committee reviewed the responses and unanimously recommended that we negotiate with McDavid Associates, resulting in the attached agreement, which is in your packet, which has been reviewed by the county attorney. The project budget is $1,047,858 in reconciliation funds and $15,095 in current fiscal year allocations, for a total of $1,062,953. Program management services would not exceed $85,000 for environmental reviews and program management, and $142,500 for housing management services, for a total of $227,500. Attached is the Downeast Home Consortium Program Management and Technical Housing Services Agreement and the related project budget ordinance, which the finance director and I worked on together. And we recommend that you approve the agreement and the related project budget ordinance. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them, and I'm sure Mike Barnett would as well.
Thank you, Patsy. Any questions on this item? This is an item that has been a long time coming to finish up spending these funds, and I'm glad to see it getting close, and I hope we finish it up before the end of the year. I said the same thing last year, but we're closer than we were. No questions? All right, would entertain a motion to approve the request.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins. Is there a second?
That was Leggett.
Leggett, I'm sorry. Motion by Commissioner Leggett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arrington. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Thank you for Mike for being here this morning. I know you learned a lot about zoning and probably didn't know anything about it before you got here. I'm sure you know a lot more than any of us.
Appreciate the education.
Yes, sir. It was free. Well, free to you. I guess we're paying you since you left Farmer or wherever you came from. I'm not sure. And I do thank you for helping us work through this and look forward to bringing it to a closure.
Thank you.
There's a lot of homes in the county we can help with this item. All right, Patsy, while you're there, we'll go back to item number 13 and abandoned manufactured home, which is another one we ready to bring to a closure.
This item is regarding the budget for the abandoned manufactured home program. Nash County was awarded $27,000 from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality The agreement was effective March 1st, 2021, and terminates 2 years after that. Grant funds are being used for expenses incurred in the demolition, disposal, and recycling of abandoned and dilapidated manufactured homes. The grant covers up to $1,500 for single-wide manufactured homes and up to $2,500 for double-wide manufactured homes. The removal of all the homes has been bid, and for homes where the contractor's bid exceeded the grant coverage, owners have paid the overages. Nash County has a total of 17 active applications, and with $2,380 in local funds, we can assist all of the applicants. Attached is the grant project budget ordinance amendment, which the finance director prepared with our input. And let me review it briefly, since we left out one client contribution with the first draft, and I just want to make sure we're looking at the right thing. The grant is $27,000. The client contribution is $6,140. The transfer from the general fund would be $2,380, and the total revenue would be $35,520. And of course, that figure would also be the expenditures for the project. So what we recommend is that you approve the grant project budget ordinance amendment for this project. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to address it.
Questions of Ms. McGee on this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arrington. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries as well. We'll move now to item number 14, Patsy, which is yours also, State Capital Infrastructure Fund, direct grant for Nash County.
Yes. This item is regarding the budget for the North Carolina State Capital and Infrastructure Fund, also called SCIF.
Let me say one thing, because probably most of the commissioners are not familiar with this one. It is a grant that showed up very quickly, and we had a short timeline to find what we could spend it on, and we met a couple of times, or staff met a couple of times, and found several things we might could do, and this is where we have decided to try to do it with. But the reason you hadn't heard about it, it just came up. State just gave us $1 billion, more or less, and of course we had some criteria about how to spend it. But I think you'll be excited how the staff chose to spend it. Now, I apologize for interrupting you, but they are getting this for the first time.
Thank you for that background. Nash County was awarded the $1 million from the North Carolina Office of State Budget and Management, and this agreement was effective July 1st and terminates June 30th, but as the chairman indicated, we've had very little time to actually work on the scope of work. The grant funds are to be used for expenses incurred for county capital, and Nash County plans to use the funds to construct a shell building for economic development on its Highway 97 economic development site. Attached is the grant project ordinance, which the finance director prepared with our input, and we ask that you approve the grant project ordinance. We realize this is not the full cost of this. We're just budgeting this money, and when we bid the project and we know the full cost of the shell building, we have an estimate on it, but when we know the full cost, we'll be back to the board to budget the remaining funds.
Do you want to tell a little bit about the other things we looked at about the potential Nashville project, why we couldn't do that, and how we ended up at 97?
We talked about several other projects. I didn't bring my file, but one of them was the shell building in Nashville, but because we didn't own the property, we could not use these funds for that. We had to use it for a project on a county-owned property.
And of course, we're all very anxious to get something going on at 97, so we just felt like this was an opportunity to Boone and his people will decide where to put it. But It would just give us a shell building in that location there where it doesn't look like you're in the middle of nowhere when you get there. It would help facilitate, just like we're going to be doing at Middlesex and the traffic that we picked up down there. So I was very excited that we were able to do that. Now, we will have to put some other funds with it when we start that project, because shell buildings, like every other building, have gone up quite a bit since then. But any questions on it? Sure, Sue.
So is the thinking to begin some industrial development in the 97 site such that the rest of the site will be open and available for other industries that we're not locking ourselves in, hopefully, and,
Absolutely.
yeah, okay.
I envision it being to the left-hand side, road front, but that may not be the case. I really hadn't looked at it. Mr. Boone might could add more, but we all just, it's a fresh to all of us, but we'll find the right spot to do it so we don't impede on developing the whole thing like we've seen it several times before.
Have we got in mind how big a shell building we're gonna build down there?
We're thinking similar to what we've been doing, but that's not in stone either.
I understand we've got some money we need to use, and I think that's good, but I'd like to see a little bit more information.
Oh, yeah.
Being this is the first time we've
Understood. Yep.
heard about this.
Other questions, comments?
Just explain, this grant can only be used for what?
It can be used for capital expenses that relate to infrastructure.
Existing projects?
Projects that are ready to go, pretty much. It has to be spent by the end of, was it June 2023? Yes, June 30th, 2023.
Other.
What other projects y'all looked at?
Well, we looked at potentially using it for some, for lack of a better word, maintenance type issues, maybe at the courthouse or a potentially new roof on this building. And I felt pretty strongly that it would be better for us to use county funds to do maintenance on buildings and to use this one-time grant to do something that would help facilitate some kind of economic development if possible. So that's where we kind of ended up at, was trying to do a shell building, and we really wanted to do it in the town of Nashville in our attempt to work towards the agreement of trying to get Nashville on board with us on economic development. But at the last minute, we were able to find out that it had to be on a piece of property that we owned and not on a piece of property somebody else owned. Other questions?
Could I just make a comment?
Sure.
When we receive our agenda, and I think we received it on Wednesday, I'm sure I'm like everybody else on this board. I pretty quick start looking at that agenda, and I saw this item on there, and I did contact and get some information on it. So I did have some knowledge of this before today.
Right.
And I appreciate that being shared with me, but that opportunity exists for anybody that wishes to ask questions about the agenda. That's why it's put out in advance, I would assume. So
We put out in advance because we asked for it to be put out in advance.
Well,
probably.
I just wanted to be very clear that this didn't just come out of the blue. This was made available to us, and I had reviewed it and seen it. Nobody spoke to me before the agenda came out, but I did see it and review it, and I appreciate that. But with that said, and if there are no other questions, I'd move for adoption of this project budget ordinance.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
A second.
All right, second by Gwen. Now we can have further conversation if anybody wishes to. Any other conversation? Now, if you feel we're not doing the right thing, please speak up, but I feel real good about it, quite frankly.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I feel good about this and the shell building at that location. And even though this was on the agenda, I I guess I would like, would have liked the opportunity to see or be included maybe on the discussion before a decision was made.
I think it was actually made, if I remember right, Patsy, probably the day before the agenda went out, or maybe 2 days. It just was no time in there
Okay.
much.
Understood.
It generally don't happen like this. It was a rarity that we got the money and had a short window to figure out some project to put it on.
Understood. That's why we have a chairman.
And when you get the agenda, if you got any questions on it, staff is here to answer it. Y'all know you can call me anytime. I'll be glad to explain it to you. Sometimes I get things and have to move pretty quick to make it work. And it's not any intention trying to hide anything at all. I just try to make the schedules that the staff gives us to meet, particularly when we lose $1 million.
Understood.
Okay. Other comments, questions? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. That's item number 14. We'll move to item number 15.
This item is in regards to the local agreements necessary to begin implementing the Wi-Fi and the hand washing stations in several of our municipalities. Nash County was awarded a $900,000 Community Development Block Grant, Coronavirus Grant by the state of North Carolina, and of the $900,000, $405,000 was allocated for public facilities, including $322,000 for Wi-Fi zones and $83,000 for hand washing stations. The North Carolina Department of Commerce Rural Economic Development Division requires that we have interlocal agreements with its municipal partners, with our municipal partners, for the Wi-Fi zones and hand washing stations. As approved in our grant application for CDBG CV funds that was submitted by Nash County and the Wooten Company, we plan to initially install free Wi-Fi at the Whitakers Town Hall, Castelia Community Park, and Nashville J.W. Glover Park, including service until June of 2023. Also, as approved in the grant application, we plan to initially install a hand washing station at each of the following locations: Community Park in Castelia, Spring Hope Town Hall and Spring Hope Library, and Whitakers Town Hall. We have attached the 4 interlocal agreements which the towns have already approved. We have also attached the Subsipient Agreement, which details the scope of work to be performed by Cloudwise on behalf of Nash County in accordance with HUD regulations and the state regulations. And we also, we already have a subrecipient agreement with Wooten for the design of the hand washing stations. So we do expect to come back in coming months with additional locations that are in qualifying low to moderate income census blocks in municipalities. And we had hoped to bring that all to you as one nice tidy packet, but when we initially submitted the coronavirus grant, since that time, some of these municipalities and locations no longer or do not want the Wi-Fi or the hand washing stations. So we're trying to work through those issues and find additional locations, which will require environmental review. So we didn't want to delay these while we were waiting on the other ones. So attached to your agenda are 4 interlocal agreements, as I said, each already executed by the municipalities, and a subrecipient agreement with Cloudwise. And we already have a grant project budget ordinance in place. So the recommendation is to approve each of these interlocal agreements and the subrecipient agreement with Cloudwise.
Questions of Patsy on this item?
Has this money got to be spent for Wi-Fi and hand washing stations? I mean, you know, I can understand why some of these municipalities,
Well, we're
it's kind of
spending,
like it's over with, you know? Why do we need a hand washing station? we ain't had them all these years. You know, has it got to be spent, is my question.
Well, there's quite the process for changing it. What we submitted was hand washing stations, Wi-Fi, and subsistence payments, which is helping individuals with assistance on, we're working with NEED or NEWCA on the subsistence payments, helping people with their rent or their mortgage or their light bill or water and sewer bill, that kind of thing. So that is another component of the grant. There are processes for changing, but as you may recall at the time, a year ago, coronavirus, hand washing stations were kind of a thing, and we're leaning towards more putting them in parks and that kind of situation, but it's whatever the towns and the county want. They can't go everywhere. They can only go in these low to moderate income census tracts and municipalities. So we can't just put them anywhere. But I understand what you're saying. There is a process for changing it. The people at the state, both the director and our program manager, have changed, and it's not as easy as it used to be, really, to get things changed. But there is a process.
Other questions of Patsy? Patsy, what was the reason a town, do you recall a reason a town wouldn't have wanted Wi-Fi?
Maybe they didn't want the public at a particular location after hours, or
Okay.
maybe there wasn't enough parking to really accommodate what might be the need.
Okay. All right. I entertain a motion for approval of this item.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Ayrton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilkins. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Item 15 carries. We'll move to item 17.
Okay. This item is in relation to Phase 2 of Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers. The Nash County Park Committee has been meeting to plan for Phase 2 of the Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers, which is the county's only county-owned park. Phase 1 of the regional park, which is located at 3471 Joyner Road, Elm City, North Carolina, was completed last year, 2021, and is already heavily used for a variety of recreation activities like basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, the playground, walking trails, picnic shelters. Plus, Parks and Rec has a variety of programs down there, such as sports camps and the Mother-Son Luau. To help fund Phase 2 of this regional park, we're planning to submit a grant application to the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund for park development. Grant applications are due in early May. Before we submit the grant application, decisions must be made concerning what elements will be included in the park. We're required to submit a site-specific development plan and cost estimates with the grant application. We already have a survey to document public interest in several kinds of park elements. Also, we recently attended several civic club meetings in the area to discuss community park needs. A public meeting to obtain additional input is scheduled for March 10th, this Thursday, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Coopers Elementary School gym. To prepare the required design and cost estimates, we widely distributed a request for qualifications for firms, and we received just one response and then negotiated with Stocks Engineering, resulting in the attached agreement for up to $3,700. This has been reviewed by the county attorney. The cost can be covered initially with an existing fund, and later on, if we're awarded the PARTF grant, then we would move them over, and they would be reimbursable by up to 50% from PARTF. but the finance director has indicated that there's no additional budget needed at this point. In April, we will present to commissioners items that require specific action for the part of grant application, including approval of the final design for Phase 2 of the park. So attached is the agreement for engineering design services with Stocks Engineering for Nash County Miracle Park at Cooper's Phase 2, and our recommendation is to approve the agreement.
Questions of Ms. McGee by commissioners? Seeing none, I entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Sorry, I can't pick up y'all's voices. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to item number 18, North Carolina Department of Public Safety Grant for Nash County Sheriff's Office. Call on Donna Wood to make the presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, the first item that I have, as you indicated, is a grant, a public safety grant for our sheriff's office. And just to give you a little background on that one, the $7,500,000 was appropriated in the North Carolina state budget to the Department of Public Safety in the 2021-22 budget to provide grant funds to county sheriff's offices with populations of 210,000 or fewer, based on a 2019 certified county population. And they were to be allocated in equal amounts. And so with that population count, there were 89 sheriff's offices that these grant funds were available to. And the funds are to be used for expenses incurred by the sheriff's office for enforcing the laws of the state and carrying out other duties set by the law. So with that said, just a description of what I have in place. The Nash County Sheriff's Office has been awarded $84,269.66 from the Department of Public Safety. The agreement is effective November 18th, 2021, and terminates June 30th, 2023. The grant funds are for expense, as I indicated, the grant funds are for expenses incurred in enforcing the law as directed by the North Carolina General Assembly, Session Law 2021-180, House Bill 105. The Sheriff's Office plans to use the funds to assist with the purchase of an armored vehicle, Bearcat, which is a Bearcat, to be used for tactical or emergency response.
Okay. Donna, if I remember right, the cost of that item was considerably more than that.
About three.
It is. My understanding is that this may be about a quarter of the cost of what's available. The $84,000 is probably about a quarter of the cost of this vehicle. And Major Eddie Moore is here if there are additional questions on the plans of the Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
But just to know, moving forward, nothing can really happen with this until a full amount of funds are available. A contract can't be signed to move forward. But I did talk to Major Eddie Moore, and he said he'd be available for questions.
Ed, if you don't mind, I do want to make sure we're not boxing ourselves in with just the way financing works for government.
Yes, sir.
Are the funds to make up the difference available at this time?
They're not yet. So we've got until June of next year, like you said, to spend this money. So our plans are to allocate the rest of that money between now and then, either through, we're working on a couple other grant options or through asset forfeiture.
Does spent mean spent or obligated, Donna?
At this point, I would think if it would have to be obligated through a contract to be in place, but that would be a definition we'd have to work with the state on and Department of Public Safety.
My thinking is that's probably a pretty, do you know the lead time on getting one of those built?
It's about a year.
About a year, okay. So we certainly hope it's obligated and not spent in.
Yeah, I mean, like she said, we're aware that we've got to have the full amount before we even place that order and everything.
Right, but what my real question is that date of June 30th, 2023, is that the date you got to spend the funds or the date you got to obligate the funds? That's a question I think you need to look into.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understand.
Just to be sure, because sometimes it's one way, sometimes it's the other. So, once you obligate this, let's just say, for instance, it happened to be that you had to spend it by that date, which might be impossible, or you weren't able to obtain other funds, can you de-obligate it and do something else with it?
Yes, sir, I think so. The way it's written, I mean, it's actually pretty vague about what we can use it for. It basically just says for law enforcement purposes. So
Yeah, it was real vague, what she read.
Yes, sir.
Extremely vague.
So, and I'm not sure if I'm not familiar if we've got a backup plan in place in case all that doesn't pan out.
Right.
That's something I'll touch base with the sheriff on to see
Okay.
if we've got a backup plan
All
in
right.
case it doesn't, so.
Sure. I just don't want us to lose the money, and I
Yes,
know
sir,
y'all
we don't
don't either. Other questions from commissioners?
I'm sure if that time comes and it looks like we're not able to do that, then I'm sure we'll back up and punt and try something else.
Okay.
Because obviously we don't want to lose the money.
Donna, taking this action today, we could undo it and do something else with the money later?
We could. This was just a request by the sheriff's office. So in their grant, it doesn't say that they have to specify in the grant how they're using it.
Gotcha.
They've been awarded the funds, but this was the direction that the sheriff's office wanted to
Sure,
move
okay,
in.
that's fine. No other questions?
So we would just be approving the grant application?
Well, apparently, we've already got the money,
Okay.
so we have done that previously. We are approving it. Help me out with that, so Donna, what are we doing?
We are approving the grant. So we are
We are accepting the grant.
accepting the grant,
Okay.
and we're putting in place a budget and ordinance to take those funds in with the idea currently that a portion, or that money would be used for a portion of this vehicle.
Okay, all right. Other questions? Mr. Allen?
So I guess the record would reflect today that if we approve this grant, that the remaining funds needed for this vehicle would be from other grants or asset forfeiture money. And if that were not the case, then this grant could be redirected or would be redirected to other needs. Is that fair?
That is correct.
Then I would like the record to reflect that.
And also, what would happen is, once the other funds are available, if they're available, I would come back to the board to have those budgeted as well to move forward with.
Right, understood. Okay. Other comments, concerns, questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the grant project budget ordinance.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilkins. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion stands approved. Thank you, Major Moore. Moving on to 19, which is urgent repair program. You doing that, Ms. Wood? or-
I am.
Okay.
So this is a closeout project ordinance for the Housing Urgent Repair Program. The 2020 Urgent Repair Program was funded with $100,000 in grant funding from the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. The program assisted 10 low-income homeowners with crucial repairs that enabled the residents to remain in the home with greater safety and improved quality of life. So this item I have before you is to approve the project closeout ordinance.
Okay. Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Item number 20 is budget amendments. Ms. Wood?
Okay. The first budget amendment I have presented to the board for consideration is with the Department of Social Services. This amendment's presented to increase family reunification, it's presented to increase family reunification of federal funds to provide purchase services to facilitate I'm going to start over again. To
About like
facilitate
the senior center in Southern Nash.
safe reunification for children in foster care, increase crisis intervention, federal funds to assist qualified citizens with heating and cooling expenses, and increase APS essential services, federal funds to provide essential services for adults for whom the need for protective services have been substantiated. It's a request of $10,256, and no additional county funds are required. The next item is with Planning and Inspections Department. This budget amendment is presented to budget additional funds for third-party cell tower project reviews by Cityscape Consultants related to the expansion of 5G and broadband internet service. Review fees are paid by the project applicant, so no additional county funds are required. It's a request to increase $10,000. The next item is with Senior Services. This amendment is presented to increase funding based on donations for the Project Lifesaver Program. No additional county funds are required. It's $5,236. The next item is also with Senior Services. It's an amendment to increase funding from Hccbg for Senior Center operations. It's $65,301. No county funds are required. And the final one is with a general fund transfer. This budget amendment is presented to budget general fund balance to cover the local fund cost to complete the abandoned manufactured home project for all 17 active applicants. It's $2,380.
Any questions on those 6 budget amendments in 4 departments? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Leggett. A second. Second by Commissioner Combs. Y'all give me a hard time this morning. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a light sign? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item is item number 21, board appointments, which I understand we do not have any. Donna, I think we might have one error on the chart that you put in there on TDA. I don't think Dan Daly has another term, and it shows there he does have another term. Do I remember that right? Okay, so take a look at that, because I think we're going to need it on there next time. And what that is on TDA, he is a provider. He is not a collector, but he is in the tourism business, being he worked for L&L convenience stores all those years. So if you'll be thinking about someone to bring forward to fill that slot. All right, item number 22 is a monthly tax report. Doris Sumner. Good.
Good morning.
Morning, right on.
At this time, I'd like to present the monthly tax report. As you all know, this report is designed to keep you all abreast of the activities in the tax collector's office. The report is for your information only and does not require approval. However, it is recommended that you accept the report so that it be noted in the minutes. And if there are any questions, I would be glad to answer.
Any questions of Ms. Sumner on the tax report? Seeing none, it's noted and accepted.
All right, thank you. The next item I have are 23's tax refunds.
Yes.
And we do have several refunds that need approval so that we may disperse those funds.
Any questions on the tax refunds? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins. There a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arrington. Questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a light sign? Tax refund stand approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 24.
And the last item I have for the board's consideration is to establish the date for the Board of Equalization and Review. As described in North Carolina General Statute 105-322, Section E, the Board of Equalization and Review shall hold its first meeting no earlier than the first Monday in April and no later than the first Monday in May. It is recommended that the board schedule the first meeting of the Board of Equalization and Review on Monday, May the 2nd, 2022 at 11 a.m., and adjourn for the purpose of accepting the appeals at its second meeting on June the 6th, 2022.
Any questions? Call for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign?
Will you give us those dates again?
Yes, sir. Monday, May the 2nd at 11 a.m. and June 6th at 11 a.m.
Motion stands approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're on item number 25 now, which is commissioner comments. I call on any commissioner that wishes to speak.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to, we spoke earlier about giving a brief synopsis of the National Association of Counties
Yes, ma'am.
Legislative Conference that was in Washington, D.C. from February the 12th through the 16th. And just briefly, I wanted to let you all know what they went over and some of the high points. And Commissioner Belfield was also at that meeting. Their number one goal was broadband, getting that out into the counties. Number two was school capital funding. And 3 was ballot language, and I'll elaborate on that. They wanted to support legislation to allow counties to include specific language on the ballot referendum designating how the proposed quarter-cent local sales tax levy would be spent. They also spoke about mental health funding, increasing state funding and legislation, and protecting county revenues. They opposed the efforts to divert to the state fees or taxes currently allocated to the counties. And the last thing I just wanted to say, the meeting I sat into, one of them on justice and public policy, they did approve a resolution to support qualified immunity. And they would be sending that to the national conference, which is in July, I believe, and then eventually to legislatures and our lawmakers to support. That's my report.
What does that mean, if you can tell me?
Qualified immunity?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me tell it in my own words. So if a law enforcement officer or a government official should be in their duties to discharge for that. Okay. As you know, over the years, things have happened, and things have come back to the county, the state, or that law enforcement entity. Qualified immunity would protect that government official or that law enforcement officer from being sued personally and their assets taken for that. And so National Association of Counties is supporting qualified immunity to protect government officials and law enforcement.
Okay, thank you. The discussion on the quarter-cent sales tax, I guess that was in a North Carolina association meeting at the national meeting?
It was, yes, it was, and it's, I have information on all of that. Mm-hmm. If anyone would like to see it, I do. I brought a lot of information back. Right. So.
We hadn't, you know, that is still available to us, and we hadn't addressed it in a number of years. Mm-hmm. We attempted it one time, Janice, what year, but quite a while ago, and it failed pretty miserable, so we've kind of left it on the shelf. But a lot of counties in North Carolina now have a 7% sales tax, where we are still at 6.75. And to move, get that other quarter-cent, you have to have a referendum of the voters, and you would have had, I think you have to tell what it's going to be used for, is my understanding. And apparently this talk here is about making it more specific on the ballot, I guess, for what it would be used for, is what it sounds like. So if at any point, any commissioner has an idea of want to try that again and has a specific use for it, that is available to Nash County right on.
Wonder how much that would generate, a quarter-cent?
Ms. Wood, the question was, what would that generate? I have known in the past, but I don't know today. Okay, all right. what is our total assessed amount? For the sales tax? What do we get for total sales tax?
It's,
All,
I'm trying to think, I think we budgeted just under 16 million this past year.
I'm going to wait for her to get back to us. All right, any other commissioner have anything to report?
Just mentioned the March, we'll do our budget retreat. April, we have no mid-month. May, we have a mid-month, so if you have any suggestions, get them to myself or county manager. Internal and external presentations.
Didn't we have something in mind on one of them and move something in front of it? Do I remember?
I'd have to look back at my notes.
Okay, I think we did.
We bumped Mr. Gillespie back, doing an update on Miracle Park, but I think we're keeping the board up to date on
Yeah,
that with
we are.
moving forward with Phase 2.
Sure.
But I'll look back at our notes and see.
I think you're right.
Yep.
We should have plenty on that by
Yeah.
May.
Has it been discussed where we're gonna have the retreat, or we're gonna have it here, or where?
I can report to you on that in just a moment.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You get that, sir?
I got that.
Any other
Being
commissioner?
at home.
Got it. Any other commissioner have a comment this time? The only thing I will say, two things, new housing report, we had 34 new homes, permits during the month of February. That's down just a little bit, but still pretty doggone active. They were scattered throughout the county pretty well, and they were pulled by 18 different builders. So pretty balanced thing there. And only other thing, and Stacey, you may know the answer, I thought about when I talked to Mr. Belfield last night, and he couldn't be here. With the COVID changes, do we still have the ability for a commissioner to tune in on a meeting by Zoom and to be counted present? If not, what would we have to do to be able to do that? Should a commissioner have to be remotely tuned in? Can we do that, and what do we have to do?
We will have to publish notice, letting the public know that we're going to have a remote meeting if we have one commissioner that's participating.
Okay, so if one commissioner needs to tune in, which I know Sue has to travel quite a bit, and I do sometimes, we need to let you know soon enough to adequately publish the meeting. Okay.
Yes,
All right. That's all we need to do?
yes.
Okay, all right. That's just something that crossed my mind.
So is that like a week in advance of the meeting, or what's the timing on that?
I guess the 48 hours.
So just a couple of days?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
All right, thank you. No one else has a comment? Item number 26 is manager report, and Mr. Combs can get his answer on that.
Thank you. I wanted to report that an offer has been made and accepted for the Assistant County Manager position. Cornelius J. Jordan, who goes by CJ, will be joining us on March the 21st. And tomorrow morning, he will be able to join our management team, Teams call to meet our management team. So I'm looking forward to introducing him in the morning to our management team. Our budget team will hold meetings with department heads this week to discuss the individual department budgets. We will be meeting with all departments this coming week. The budget retreat, which is scheduled for March the 23rd and 24th, that's a Wednesday and Thursday, will be held at the Drake Community Center, located at 5251 Drake Road in Brattleboro. If you'll recall, we were trying to schedule it at that location back in 2020 when COVID hit, and we've been in-house since, so we'll look forward to getting back out into the community and visit the Drake Center. We'll be ready for your arrival at 8:30 on those two mornings, and we will plan to start our our agenda at 9 a.m. on those mornings. And lunch will be provided on those days. Are there any other questions about the budget retreat before I move on?
That was in what month?
This month.
This March.
Yes, sir, this month.
Back up some more.
March 23rd and 24th.
I see it now. 8:30 then.
8:30 will be ready for you, and 9 o'clock we'll start our agenda. Our training committee has met, and we're planning to relaunch the 2020 Building Leaders Together program. That's our leadership training program. We're going to relaunch that on March 15th. The training is a partnership between the county and Nash Community College, and our classes once a month will be held at the college campus. Final projects and graduation are currently scheduled for November the 15th, 2022. The training committee also decided to take a look back at the agenda that we had planned for our management team retreat that we had to cancel in January. And we're going to try to offer some of those sessions as individual sessions for our management team here in the commissioner's room at different scheduled times. So we're going to just offer some training to our management team in that fashion for this year. From February 8th through March the 2nd, Nash County hosted FEMA ambulance cruise. In that time, the cruise ran as the primary ambulance for EMS 800, which is 24 hours a day, and ran the primary ambulance for EMS 700 from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. every day. They provided much-needed relief to our staff by responding to over 400 calls. Their presence allowed our staff to take a break from the busiest areas and keep the more rural ambulances in service. As of March 2nd, the North Carolina's contract with FEMA ended, resulting in those strike teams' departure. So they are no longer here in Nash County. If you'll recall, on January 23rd, 2021, Nash County received National Guardsmen to help with our Nash County Health Department for public health services. They assisted with COVID testing and vaccination clinics. They set up for clinics, cleaned up after clinics, administered tests and vaccines, did patient registration, triage, provided results and counseling, and did data entry into the state system. And as of today, those National Guardsmen are leaving Nash County. They were here for over a year. We had approximately 10 in all. Some came and left, and some are with us leaving today that came on January the 23rd. So we're extremely grateful for the National Guard's help. I know our staff will stay in contact with many of them moving forward. Just wanted to let you know that I have visited with our towns to meet with their boards and administration. Tonight, I meet with, tonight I meet with Spring Hope, and then I meet with Dorchester on March the 22nd, and then that will conclude my visits with all of our towns. I've also met with officials from Nash UNC Healthcare, the Community College, Trillium Health Resources, and our airport. I just did want to touch back on the North Carolina State Capital and Infrastructure Fund grant, the SCIF grant that we spoke of. It would be my intention moving forward to provide you all with information on that. I do apologize. That one did come up very quickly. I do want to thank Patsy McGee for her quick turnaround on that with all of the other grants that she's managing and administering. To have another one thrown at her that had to be turned around so quickly is actually just amazing that she gets that work done for us. But it would be my goal moving forward to make sure that you all have some information about those items before they come to you. And then also, Commissioner Cohn, I did hear your concern about hand washing stations, so I will get with Patsy to see if there is a way for Nash County to divert those funds. When that grant was written months and months and months ago, again, hand washing stations were a more popular attraction, and we may be able to spend those funds in a different way, and we will look into that and report back to you. And I think that's all I have.
All right, any questions of that report?
I have one. Madam Manager, when you get with Ms. McGee and you find out about the hand washing stations, no action will be taken until this board votes on it. Is that
correct?
I feel very strongly, even though COVID has subsided some, in our public parks and whatnot, we have children playing, and it's just a matter of health. So I would definitely like it to come before the board before any action is taken.
Definitely keep you informed.
Thank you.
And the towns and cities also have.
I'm sorry?
The towns and cities that's affected would also have a say on
Sure.
that.
Yeah, because they've already taken action on them, come to think up.
Right.
Good point, Mr. Harris.
Right.
All right, any other questions of the manager? Good report, thank you. Next item is to call for a closed session. Direction, Madam Clerk, is your lunch here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Remind me, I know we discussed it, are we going to have our closed session in the back?
If that's the desire of the board, the conference room is available for lunch and for closed session.
So does anybody object to having a closed session in the conference room again today? No objection? That's what we'll do then. All right, this time I'd call for a motion to go into closed session for economic development and matters of attorney-client privilege.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Mr. Durham, is there any action, to your knowledge, we will be taking after closed session? Don't think so, okay. All right, we'll take just a short recess while we're moving to the back, and then call ourselves back to order in closed session. Thank you.